fats and whole grains that will discourage inflammation in the body. Includes generous portions of lean protein, which can maintain muscle mass in many cases when someone's going on a diet that is lower than the caloric intake they're currently consuming now. A lot of people lose lean body mass by increasing your protein levels. I'm not saying to astronomical amounts, but I'm just talking about increasing it, and we'll talk about that. And it curbs hunger protein as well. A lot of good research on that, solid evidence on that. So that's the diet. That's the summary of it. So what do we got to do first? We have to first find out how many calories we're supposed to be taking in. Best thing to do is, like I said, to hire a registered dietitian, and they'll go through it in detail. But I'm just going to give you some basic guidelines. Some experts will use the Harris Benedict Equation, which is basically a complicated equation. It's not 100% accurate, but some people still use it. But today I'm going to use, and you can look up that if you're interested on Google, Harris Benedict Equation. But for our purposes today, we're going to basically go make it simple and easy. I want you to eat 400 calorie meals per day, plus an optional 300 calorie snack for larger and active people. Now that's straight out of the book Belly Fat Diet, I'm not going to lie, okay? And I liked it. I went through the book, as I go through many books before I make my judgment on them. I've read many diet books, and I think this goes beyond the diet book. Some of the stuff is from that book, some of the stuff is from studies, like from this particular study. You can't see this, of course, but showing it's basically the effects of whole grain enriched hypocaloric diet on cardiovascular disease risk factors in men and women with metabolic syndrome. Basically, George Reaven, back in the day, a long time ago from Stanford, actually coupled a lot of these risk factors like high blood pressure, high triglyceride level, low HDL, central adiposity in the stomach, things of that nature, prediabetes. Those things kind of are called, they get grouped into this thing called the metabolic syndrome. So that was a great article. I'll be referring to it a little later. But I also want to tell you that I'm going to go over a sample day of what I'm talking about, of 4 meals. And I'll go over maybe an alternative one too as well. So maybe 2 on them today. If I'm feeling kind of like I want to give you as much as I can. I'll also go over the basic guidelines of what types of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats you should be consuming, so you can be kind of empowered to make the right choices, because, you know, one sample menu for each meal is not enough. When I'm working with my clients, I usually give them 10 choices, or I'll send them to my registered dietitian person. But if they don't want to do that, I'll actually, you know, that's my first priority, is to send them to a registered dietitian. But if they don't want to do that, I'll just say these are the different choices you can choose from for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there's 10 of them. So let's go over some of the guidelines, like I said, and then we'll go over that sample manual, and we'll be done. And then hopefully we'll have time to go over the exercise portion of this program. So the dietary guidelines for carbohydrates. You want to, you know, refined or white carbohydrates, I think most people know this by now, have that high glycemic index, which can spike your insulin levels and then drop them. And then it makes you hungry and tired and not feeling like you want to do anything. And that's specifically for that apple-shaped person we talked about. So you want to choose fruits, specifically, you know, not as much fruit juice, but whole fruits, okay? You want to choose fresh vegetables, especially greens, limit the starchy ones. And you want whole grains. What is the whole grain? We're going to give you some examples. Brown rice, oats, oatmeal, whole wheat bread. This was interesting. Popcorn. Quinoa. It's spelled Quinoa. And I tried that. My registered dietitian friend Michael asked me to try it, and myself, I did not like it, but you know, some people may like that. And this is just to name a few. If you go on Google and go online and find out, just look up whole grains, you'll find a lot about that. And I think mypyramid.gov really gets into detail about it. So foods labeled, don't get tricked by the labeling. Foods labeled multigrain, stone ground, 100% wheat, 7-grain, or bran are usually not whole grain products. Color does not necessarily tell the story. If you know, it looks like, oh, I'm going to have whole wheat bread. It's brown. It could be colored with molasses or other added ingredients. So, you know, check that label and go on mypyramid.gov because I'm running out of time here. Studies reveal that individuals that consume whole grains lose more body fat from the belly and decrease CRP levels considerably. And that's what this is the Katcher. This is the Katcher article. Katcher et al. There's many other people involved in this study. And it was in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. For you scientists out there that want to look it up, it's the January 2008 edition. So